NASA has been without a leader for most of this year, but thankfully, or not thankfully, there's someone new coming to the position. Unfortunately for us, he's a well-known climate change denier. So what has previously been the tradition in this role as the NASA administrator is that whenever a new president arrives, the old administrator tenders their resignation on that very day, and the administration accepts it or rejects it. He accepted it. There has been no formal leader as of so far. The assistant leader stepped into the spot, and now we have someone who not only doesn't have a science background, has a specifically anti-science background. The previous leader, or I should call them administrator, I keep calling them leader,
because it's a space thing, and in space, frequently there's a leader.
A commander.
Yeah.
He was actually someone who had been to space several times, was an astronaut, has logged several days orbiting above Earth. But now we have someone who is...
he's an Oklahoma guy.
Yeah, and he does have a very well-established bond with the energy and gas lobbies.
Yeah, it's something like 80% of all jobs
at all
in Oklahoma are energy based. It's some like ridiculous, astronomically high number of jobs. So that's where Pruitt's from, the EPA
and
head.
Pruitt has already caused a lot of damage to the EPA.
Right, the thought being that they're in the pocket of big energy.
Right, so Representative Bridenstine, he is actually well known for taking a stand, a speech on the floor of Congress saying, Mr. Speaker, global temperature stopped rising 10 years ago. That's not true. Global temperature changes when they exist correlate with sun. That's not true. Output and ocean cycles, also not true. During the medieval warm period from 800 to 1300 AD, long before cars, power plants, or the Industrial Revolution, temperatures were warmer than today. During the Little Ice Age from 1300 to 1900 AD, temperatures were cooler. Neither of these periods were caused by any human activity. This is kind of crazy. It's all over the place. You did the that's not true parts of what you just heard were my editorial, but they are actually factually not true. Global temperatures never stopped rising. They don't correlate to the sun at all or oceans, not in long term. The medieval warm period was a local phenomenon, not a global phenomenon. The Little Ice Age was also local to parts of Europe and not global. So it just, this is common partisan anti-science, what they always say. It's not really backed by fact. No, it is not backed by fact at all. This is just trying to interpret the facts in a way that are extremely misleading and will end up contributing to policy that hurts the earth and the people who live on it. He also said that President Obama spent 30 times as much money on climate research as weather, and said Obama should apologize for it. That claim was also outrageously false.
Yeah, and the danger of having a politician as opposed to a scientist in this role is that it's possible that they would just go for like the kinds of stuff they know about, that they think are cool about NASA.
That they believe they know.
Right, but that's what I mean.
He's into commercialized space travel.
Right.
He's into space travel in general. But NASA has an extensive arm of climate research, climate study, and it does end up being extremely pivotal in how we respond to natural phenomena.
So much of what NASA does is just the boring, important science research.
It's not boring.
But that's what I mean, is if you are this guy who is a politician, he says, what can I score brownie points with my constituents over? And that's, or if he's not doing it now, that's been his experience, which is why he has come out against climate science. This guy probably doesn't care one way or another. Probably privately, if you took him aside and said, here are all the facts, read these, he would say, he wouldn't admit that you're right, but he would know you're right, but still say, I'm from Oklahoma. We need to keep taking shale out, fracking the hell out of our state until it has earthquakes.
We need to work with our cognitive bias, not the demonstrable facts that have been collected.
And it's a hard thing to convince people that something as global as climate change is something that is really important to deal with now, when, from a politician's perspective, like, I just need to get jobs for the people near me. That's a point where he's being intellectually dishonest in every justification he has for any action that he's done. But he's gonna wanna just do like, let's go to space in rocket ships. and visit spots. And you know what? Privatization of this industry is a really good thing. I'm going to score points with the administration by cutting our budgets, and that will be fiscally responsible to all my friends back home. Now, if we need to do some kind of initiative that increases our ability to get energy out of the ground, we'll go do that. But I think he's going to focus more on getting brownie points for doing like SpaceX help and cut down on anything that NASA actually does that helps the scientific community from a knowledge perspective. And that's really, really dangerous.
I mean, we've already seen the education branch being cut as well with budget proposals. It's very worrisome. It seems that it is expected that the formal nomination for Jim Bridenstine for NASA chairperson will be very soon. Democrats are expected to resist this. If you are opposed to a climate change denier being in charge of NASA, I suggest you call your senators, especially if they're Democratic, and urge them to resist this nomination as it reaches the Senate. Oh boy. This is a very troubling story, but it's not an uncommon story. Audience, what are your thoughts? Please let us know below, and please like and subscribe for more.